Welcome back, crime sceners. So in the last video, we looked at everything we currently now know about the murder of Nanette Ellis. Everything we've learned from the time I started this channel up until right now. And we've learnt a lot, but there are still so many questions that I still have. So let's get into that in today's video. As usual, there's the disclaimer if you want to have a quick read of that. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe so we can get this in front of as many people as possible, because I'm hoping that something in one of these videos will trigger a memory in someone. Okay, so these are the questions that I have. If you know the answers to any of them, please write them in the comments, or you can always email me if you don't want to go public. My email is in the description. If you have any questions of your own, please also let me know that as well, and I will add them to the pile. Okay, so here are the questions. Do the police actually have uncontaminated DNA from the crime scene? If they do, who have they actually tested it against? Have they done, or will they do, any familial DNA testing and use ancestry sites to try to find a match? If they have not done this, why haven't they done this? Does anyone else think it would be a good idea for police to do a mass DNA testing of everyone who was around Nanette at the time? And before you say anything, I know that nobody can be compelled to give a DNA sample, but it would definitely narrow down the field. And they've done this with a lot of different cases, so I don't know why this can't be one. I mean, it would definitely narrow down the field, and I'm sure there would be a lot of people who would love to be ruled out. I mean, she had sons, a daughter, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, nieces, nephews, co-workers, clients, friends, neighbours, friends of her sons. She even had cops around her at the time she was killed. I would even test Max's wife, stepmother to Craig and Greg. I think if they managed to do that, they would have the killer, and not a moment too soon. I mean, it has been 42 years. 42 years of a murderer roaming the streets. You would think that would be enough. And if someone refuses to give their DNA, then I think that says a lot too. And if it's a money thing, then maybe we can do like a GoFundMe or something. Okay, next question. Where were Craig's knives at the time? Were they in the kitchen, or were they being stored in his bedroom? Who turned on the radio? Who is telling the truth about where Nanette was at 5 p.m. that day? Is it the receptionist telling the truth, or is it the other witness telling the truth, because one of them is lying? Or maybe they're not even lying. Maybe they just got confused about what happened on that day. It has been a really long time. But she can't have been in both places at the same time. So I won't say that one of them is lying, but I will say that one of them is definitely incorrect. Was Margot really calling between 5:15 and 5:45 that day, or was she driving home from Wanturna like another witness says? Why did Nanette go to Queensland in October? Was it a holiday, or was it for something else? Was she meeting someone there? Did she go alone, or did she go with someone else? Why did she feel the need to write her will right before she left? Why did she keep the will at the office and not take it home or put it somewhere else that was a bit more personal? Where was Craig on the morning of the first rock attack? Why did the police go down to the office when the windscreen was smashed to take a statement? I've had cars stolen, bikes stolen, violent offences happen, all kinds of things, and I'm always told to go down to the station myself. Nobody has ever come to me to get a statement. Were Belgrave police just really bored back then and had nothing else better to do? I did read a newspaper article that said Belgrave police didn't even have a night shift at that time, so surely they had better things to do. How did Nanette see a rock coming at her but didn't know what direction it came from? Is there a connection between the location of the rock attacks and the fact that Nanette's sister lives on that road that joins that area? And I know I just said lives, it's probably lived now. She probably doesn't live there anymore. But that road that she lived on connected right at the part where the rock attacks were occurring. And no, I'm not saying that it was Nanette's sister, of course. I'm just wondering if there's some sort of connection there, or if it was just a coincidence. Why did Greg go live with his aunt if they didn't get along? Why did nobody go to live with Max? Why didn't Nanette hide her car after she was advised to not keep it in the driveway? I was told that at some stage she was keeping it in a neighbour's garage, but she obviously had it in her driveway the 2 nights that it was attacked. And which neighbour was letting her use their garage? Why was Craig still keeping his car in the driveway? He had an old Holden he was fixing up. Wasn't he concerned that his car might be damaged too? Why did the attacks in the driveway only occur when Nanette was alone? Or the rock attacks for that matter? When police were surveilling Monbroke Road or escorting Nanette to work, were they in a police car or in an undercover car? Did any of the police have a crush on Nanette? What was it about the vandalism that made police think her life was in danger? The officer claimed that he interviewed her in detail and she couldn't think of anyone who would want to scare her. So the attacks on her car would have been scary. But was there something that said to the police that her actual life was in danger? If so, what was it? Or were they giving her escorts to work and surveilling her house for some vandalism? Why would Nanette be listening to music with headphones on or turning the radio up loud if she was in fear for her life? How the hell did they manage to pull that number plate off without removing the screws? I've tried to actually do this before, and it is a feat of strength that you wouldn't believe. I wasn't even able to do it. You really need to have some strength to be able to pull a number plate off and just go straight through the screws. Did the police try to match the paint with the paint that Lance Hess had on his porch? If so, was the paint on Nanette's car the same paint that was missing from the Hess's house? On the Tuesday before Nanette was murdered and she stayed home from work and Greg came home for lunch, why was the door unlocked when Greg got home if Nanette was alone? Why did Craig and Greg run across the road when they knew the police were out there watching? What were they doing out there? Why did none of the adults inside realise they had left the house? Why did none of the kids' friends realise they had left the house? Did the police look in the bin to see if they were trying to discard something? What did the police do when they realised it was Craig and Greg running around outside? Did they say anything to them? Did they tell Nanette? Did anything happen at all? Why did Margot leave at 5 p.m. the day before the murder when the journalist left at 3? And why did Beth leave at 3 when she wasn't a journalist? She was part of the advertising staff, so why didn't she stay until 5 p.m. like Nanette? How does Greg know what time Nanette leaves for work if he leaves before her? What newspaper did Craig see Nanette on the front page outside the deli? All the newspapers I have found never had her on the front page. That's not to say that she wasn't on the front page on some newspapers, but I have been unable to find any newspaper that had her on the front page. Did the phone call to Craig on the day of her murder actually happen? And why would Nanette say that everything was going to be okay now? Did the phone call to police on the day of her murder actually happen? Did Kerry hear either of these phone calls? Why does Craig think that Nanette was being picked up at 6 when Margot says they were all meeting at Heather's? Who was Craig going to the drive-in with? Why was Kerry going to the photographer's house after work? Why did Craig leave knowing that Nanette was due home soon and nobody would be home? What did Nanette need the Tupperware container for? Who was in the car behind Nanette when she was turning into her house? Could Joan have been mistaken for a man from behind in a car? What were the pantyhose used for, and why was the packet left on the bedside table in the back bedroom? Why was Nanette's jacket where it was? Who were all these people walking down the street at that time? Did the police dust the radio for fingerprints? Could Greg really see that Nanette's eyes were open from where he was standing? And if he thought she must be dead, why did he tell the emergency operator that someone was injured? How was Greg able to give such a good and detailed description of the people walking down the road, especially the one he saw after he found his mother? Why were Craig and Ron Hutchison not called to give evidence at the coroner's hearing? Why did Craig drive off to get his friends? Why did Craig leave his brother at the scene? What are the odds on Craig arriving home during the small window of time between when the body was found and police and ambulance arriving? Why did nobody hear the dog barking? Did it even bark at all? How did the witness that saw Nanette go into her driveway that day end up going back past when police were there, and what made her decide to stop and speak with police? After apparently ringing Nanette 6 to 7 times and getting no answer, why did Margot not go to check on Nanette? She knew Nanette wasn't answering. She knew the boys weren't answering. The person in the comments who said they worked with Nanette said that if they knew she was going to be alone, someone would have stayed with her. Well, Margot knew that the kids weren't there, so why didn't she go and check on her instead of just waiting to see if she was at Heather's? Did the friends actually go to Nanette's house and give statements? What did Craig need from the house? Did the boys choose where they wanted to live? Why did the Hesses sell their house right before the inquest? How did Craig find Janet? When was Janet actually found? Was it when Craig said, or did Nanette find Janet before she died? What makes Greg think there was more than one person? Have the police actually determined that it was a man? Why was Janet adopted by a couple in their 50s? Did these people have some sort of significance to Nanette or her family? Why was Janet not mentioned in Nanette's mother's obituary? Why was the Facebook page taken down? Why has Nanette's reward not been increased? Do the police have any suspects? Was Craig's car forensically examined? Is the DNA, if they have it, is it in the national database? Who has Nanette's diamond ring? If Nanette decided to stay until 5 that day, why didn't she ring the police back and let them know? How did Craig know that Nanette was looking for Janet? And how did Craig know that the paint was water-based, especially since it was dark? Now, none of these questions are meant to be pointing fingers at anyone or saying that, because I have this question, there's something that these people have done wrong. But I do think knowing the answers to these questions kind of help to understand the story and understand the timeline and understand what was going on around Nanette at that time. And I think there's a lot of people out there who might know bits here and bits there and just little bits of stuff that they don't think mean anything, that they don't think, hey, this bit of information that I have is going to crack this case wide open. But put with all the other information, it certainly might make a hell of a lot more sense. And not just to have it make more sense, but also move people up or down the suspect list. Obviously, there's a couple of situations there where two people are telling different sides of a story. So if we could determine which side of the story is true, then you can look at the other person and go, well, why are you lying? Is it just a mix-up? Did you just get the dates wrong? Or are you lying for a purpose? And I think that definitely would then lead us down a particular direction. It's always good to find out new information no matter what it is. For instance, I've been doing a little bit of research and somebody who was quite high on my suspect list has dropped down quite dramatically. And I'm going to do a video about that, but there's a couple more videos I want to do so that all the information that I have is out there first. And then I'm going to definitely do that video to let you know who has dropped down basically to the bottom of my list or very close to the bottom of my list. But if you're watching this, and obviously there's quite a lot of questions there, but if you're watching this and you know the answer to any one of them, or you think that you know the answer to any one of them, please either write it in the comments or get in touch. It's really, really important. Like I said, 42 years, way too long, way too long. Nanette needs justice. Her kids need justice and closure. And let's face it, this was such a brutal crime. This person needs to be punished. If you are protecting this person, I don't even know what to say about you. Understandable that you might be scared, but we're talking 42 years. If this person was 20 years old at the time, they would be 62 years old now. Hardly scary. So if you know anything or have the answers to any of these questions whatsoever, you know what to do.